Okay, so you can make them active and say, okay, go and before you come to me to ask the question what you didn't understand in the lecture, go to the Google, go to your blackboard and look at the learning resources that are there. Some staff, some teachers, some educators, they actually put inside their course YouTube videos. Say, look, maybe my English is not good enough for you to understand, maybe my Arabic is not good enough, but here I found somebody on the YouTube who is explaining the same concept which I am trying to teach you. It's there, and I will load it into my course, so you can have a support for your learning. Then students may understand much better by listening to a video than just a didactic lecture. So it enhances learning. What about this? How much do we do? The third one, improve feedback. How many of you, and the question when I say you, me also, after an exam, do we get or do we give feedback to the students? Saying, look, you went wrong in this question. Okay? In a paper exam, you can't give a feedback straight away. In an electronic exam, you can, saying, okay, you got it wrong, but this is the reason why you got it wrong. So he is learning, alright? And you are giving a feedback to the student based on the answer that he has given. So we can give feedback not only for students but also for staff. So there is something called Blackboard Analytics. Do you have it implemented here in your Blackboard, Mr. Usama? Still not yet, huh? Okay. Analytics tells how much people are using and how much students are using and which part of Blackboard they are going most, right? So analytics there analyzes the content, analyzes the use, the interaction between student and the staff to get the feedback not only to the student but also to the staff. When students, these are your stakeholders, right? Students are our stakeholders, right? University, we are also a stakeholder. So when the students enrolled for a course, at the end he is failing, surely you want to know why he is failing, right? You can't just say, oh, you got F, khalas, finish, repeat the course. No, you want to know why. So Blackboard can be used to actually give feedback. And the feedback is two ways. Blackboard can tell the staff, saying, look, the questions that you put in the exam, okay, or the assignment that you gave them falls outside the learning objectives of the student. So who is fault? Not the student, the staff. Maybe you put such questions that are outside the course objectives, right? So feedback can be both ways, okay? And actually feedback is another word, you can say evaluation. So staff can evaluate the course, your peers can evaluate you, right, and give a feedback, and students can give a feedback also, right? Always for our continuous assessment that we have in my biochemistry course, after every small assignment, and I'm going to give you an example. It's not an exam, it's not a quiz, it's something else, all right? But I'll give you a feedback and what I have asked them and what they have done, okay? So I'll give you an example for that. But feedback and evaluation is also very, very important, especially for quality as well, right? Quality people, they want to know how good is your exam, right? How good is your teaching? Does the program objectives of the MBBS course align with the course objectives? And do the course objectives align with the student learning objectives? All of that can be managed. That's why it's called the learning management system. It's not an assessment system only. It can assess all this and it can evaluate all this. Okay. You can repeat the exam. Say somebody didn't come. For a paper exam, you'll have to make it again, right? In the electronic exam, you can have a data bank of questions. And you can categorize these questions according to easy, hard, very hard questions. And you can actually randomly pull the question and a second exam is ready instantly. Okay, or second assessment is ready instantly. So we can use repeatable things, okay. The administration of course, has to be there. So somebody has to administrate the actual learning management system. The people who make the decision, they will bring it in. But then there is a whole deanship who will look after the administration part of that. So e-learning is also about using that. And how about, always I give example about the assessment, about the exam, but it's useful for everything. Okay, in a theory exam on paper, can you put a video?
No.
You can't. You can put a picture, yes, but can you put a video? So like for example, clinical internal medicine course. You want to actually do a student needs to evaluate, or students need to talk to a patient and take history. So you can have a scenario in a video and you can incorporate it in your test and say, okay, have a look at this and then answer the question. So this will become now interactive, all right? Interactive ways, an interesting way of even your lectures. So how many of you are using PowerPoints?
All.
Inshallah, all of you, right? How many of you incorporate videos inside it?
Few.
Sometimes they become too large, right? One time I asked somebody to upload his lecture. Actually, it was his CV. CV, because we need CVs for the staff in the Blackboard system. And he said, well, I will send you by email. I said, okay, send it by email. The email came, but the attachment was like 45 megabytes. So it was not, he could not upload it to the email, right? In the Blackboard, I think there is a limit. Every staff, what is it, 500 megabytes or 1 giga? For every course.
500 megabytes.
500 megabytes, right? When you upload your lectures, if you're full, you can ask the administration to give you a bit more, all right? Or the way I do it is, maybe the Blackboard team here, the e-learning deanship, they have a limit of 500 megabytes, but YouTube, you can upload as much as you want, right? It's handled by Google. You can have your own channel and you can put it there, and in your course you can put a link. In your PowerPoint presentation you can put a link. So that file can be high quality, all right, or compressed, and there is no limit to how much you can put up. So it can become interesting. That's why we are using e-learning for all these reasons here. Most of our lecturing, the students are just passive. So they come in front of you, you lecture, 50 minutes later they go away, right? And you go to another lecture or you go for a break. So it's just passive, right? With the e-learning system and the Blackboard, we can make them active learners. So active learning is actually a field of medical education, right? Or health professions education. When you say medical, it's not the medical college only, it covers all the health professions, right? And also other colleges, engineering, Sharia, language, wherever they are, science, okay? Everywhere, we want to move the students from being passive to becoming active learners. And why? Because there are advantages with active learning. There is some explanation here that we want to promote the active learning in our students because they learn better and they retain the information for longer. Right? In medical education, we have this chart here. See the comparison between passive learning and active learning. So you see here, if you make them active learners, they will remember almost 90%. Whereas in passive, right, as soon as they go out of the lecture room, maybe it's only 10%. In my lecture, when I give, I find students who are not writing at all, and they just, like that, so I said, no, pen and paper, write things down. I've given you a handout, write on it. This handout is enough to get you a D. It won't get you an A+. So write things because there are questions in between the lines that will come. So I make them write. And I say to them, if you're just listening, maybe 10% you will remember as soon as you go out of the door. By the time you reach home, even another 5-10% is gone. So you got 0. right? So I make them write down. Now in the blackboard, we can make them active by actually asking questions and say, okay, by tonight I want an answer to this. So he will look for the book. Book can be electronic. He will look for Google and he will find you the answers, right? And by that way they retain more information when they become active and when they become more interactive. So active learning was there, and that's one of the reasons why. Here is a comparison between passive and active. Right? So you can compare. Look. Poor retention, better retention. So there is a comparison between passive lecturing, passive education and active education. And I have an example in my course where I took the students from the formal assessment, I took out 2 marks. So normally for the quiz or for the exam, they will have 38 marks. I said, okay, that will be worth only 36 marks. 2 marks is going to be for some home, open book, blackboard quizzes. No question about cheating. You can discuss with your friends, right? Tonight at 9 o'clock, for the student I tell them, tonight at 9 o'clock there will be a small quiz. But before that I've given you already for 1 week some material to read. Have that ready and then do the 9 o'clock training. So first time they did, they thought that it will be easy because we sit together and there will be 10 questions and we have to answer the 10 questions. So everybody will get full mark, right? What they didn't know is that Blackboard allows you to put a bank of questions. And say, Blackboard also allows you to put questions so that you cannot go back once you answer. You can't change the answer. Okay, so and you can only go forward. And Blackboard allows you to pull questions randomly from the bank. So every one of you, if you are sitting together, it's a group learning, problem-based learning, sit together, try to find the answer. Every one of you have got a different question. And every one of you is limited by about half an hour to do 10 questions. Right? So when I didn't give them a mark, say it's not worth, so we not do it. So that's why I had to put a small mark only. 1 mark for a 10 question assessment in the evening, open book. All of them they did. Maybe 180 students, 70, 80 girls and about 110 boys. All of them they did. And there was a presentation that I made, a paper, and we showed that they get better as they take more and more attempts. It's obvious, right? 10 questions, maybe you have a bank of 30. So if you're going to repeat it 3-4 times, soon they will have all the pictures and all the right answers. Right? So the exercise is not that everybody will get full mark. The exercise is that you are learning from home. Right? And why I made it interesting, I said to them, okay, my challenge, my task is to teach you concepts of biochemistry, which the medical students say biochemistry is not that important because I want to become a surgeon. I want to become a physician. So biochemistry is not important. So I have to give them something that relates between biochemistry and medicine. So in the home open book things, I will give them questions that are related to it. So if I say, are there any biochemists here? Yes. So, carbohydrates. How they are made? Monosaccharides, disaccharides joining together by glycosidic bonds, right? And glycogen will come in and polysaccharides, right? So, if you relate that to diabetes, now there is a relation between biochemistry and medicine, right? How that problem is there in our population, in our communities, in our societies, then you can ask for home such questions that are related only to medicine. So he will have to search. Say, I didn't listen to this in the lecture, I didn't listen to this in the handout, but now he's asking me about diabetes. So I can Google for that answer. Okay, I want only to make you an active learner. I don't want to fail you. If you don't do it, you won't get any marks. But if you do it, you get full marks. So they like it. Students like when you give them full marks, right? So, active learners. Right. Now I'll talk a little bit about how to make assessments and how electronic assessments are good. So what do you have in an assessment program? In Blackboard it is there. You have a bank of questions You can organize them into tests. You can publish them over a web server through the Blackboard, right? You can access the test through the internet. Then you can collect the result, analyze, and give feedback. So, what sort of questions can you have? Look, in a paper exam, not much choice. But in an electronic exam, you can have all sorts of questions. Matching question, essay question, hotspot, drag, drop. And I give you some examples here. Look, this is a multiple choice question. Okay? You can have a multiple answer question. You can have true, false. Right? You can have, this is like a multiple answer. So you have to select a few answers from this. Even I don't know what's the answer to that one. CELT. Okay, so we have to write in, fill in blanks here, inside the words. You can have a drop-down menu. So, many different types of questions. Here is an interactive question, so you have to drag and put it in the right place. So, student has to actually do something, right? So, while answering, it's not just a choice. Here is a video. Now, here, look, this is a real case from a medical exam. They have to do something. First of all, watch that video about the patient and then answer a problem. Answer the question. The good thing about this sort of questioning is that answer is already predefined and you can have an instant result at the end of the test. With a paper exam, you have to go to a marker, right? Either manually mark it or use a OMR scanner. Do you use OMR scanners here? Right. From that, you may get analysis. But if you manually mark, there's no analysis of the questions. Right? It's just right or wrong. And you say you got 12 out of 20. That's all. But with an electronic one, not only do you get the score, but you also get item analysis. How good are your questions? Are they difficult? Are they easy? Are they moderate? And how discriminative are your questions? Are your questions good enough to discriminate between the good student and the poor student? Or you are giving so easy questions that it doesn't matter. Everybody gets full mark. So we can have an item analysis. And then item analysis can then tell you whether to use this question or not. One of the famous things that happens in this multiple choice question exam is, say in my college, the surgery department want to do a theory exam and they put surgery questions, right? I am very far away from surgery, right? I am a biochemist, so I know about chemistry. But when they do an electronic exam, I can spot that something wrong with this question. I don't know what you're asking, but I know something is wrong with this question. Why? Because 90% of the students are saying the answer is B and you put the answer as C. So I need to ask the professor, please kindly have a look at this question. If you're just scoring, it won't come out. You just mark and tell the mark to the students, right? But when you analyze the question, now I can say, oh, something is wrong with this question. I don't know what you are asking about surgery, but I think something wrong with this question. So he'll say, oh, let me have a look. What happened? Tell me, what happened? The professor put the wrong key. Student told me that the answer is B. Without knowing that surgery, I don't have the knowledge about the question. But I spotted this question and say, I think something wrong with this question. When I showed it to the professor, he said, oh, one of those mistakes. Right? So in a paper exam, what you'll have to do? If you are marking with the OMR, you have to correct the answer key and mark again. Yes? Blackboard, instant. It won't even take you 1 minute. Right? Go back to the test, edit that question, put the right question, there's a button saying update and regrade. Immediately all of them will get the right answer. Now 90%, that question which was hard, now it became easy. So this is something that you can do with Blackboard, not with paper exams. We need to take care of this. Students' anxiety. If you put them to use Doctor, the computer changed my answer. I selected B, but in the system it says, because we give feedback for the continuous assessment. The student, I am definitely sure that I gave B as the correct answer. Right? What are you going to do now? Trust the student or say, no, this is your mark?
Trust the computer.
No, I say I trust you, but I'm going to go to the blackboard system and find out when did you change the answer from C to B. Okay, so mashallah, in the blackboard system, in the assessment, there is a log, second by second, log, when you are actually moving your mouse and your answer. And it is saving every few seconds, everything is being saved. So you can show him this analysis, say, look, you took 15 minutes to answer this one question, and you're moving from B to C and B to C, right? And finally you selected this one. At this time, at this second. Then he is convinced that the system is right. Right? So, but we can do this to relieve the anxiety by actually showing them, training them with practice exams. And also sometimes when I give the home exam, the student, they say 5 minutes before the exam is about to start, I have no internet. So I said, too late, because you had a practice exam to try. Why didn't you try and then call me 1 hour before and say in Abha there is no electricity, or in Abha in our area there is no internet? We could have done something about it. So practice exam gives them a chance to try things out. Right? Try things out in their laptop, in their battery, in their internet connection. One very famous case I have with one student, when I gave them this home exam, 9 o'clock in the evening, at about 8:45, said, Doctor, I'm actually going to Riyadh on flight, in flight. And by 9 o'clock I'll be flying. Can I do the exam using the Wi-Fi that is available by STC in the... Yes, I said, why not? As long as the internet is there, you can do. And he's doing exam from where? From up in the sky. Right? By flying, and he's doing my exam. So he was able to do it. Right? So there are, you can relieve the student. So I said, try it with the practice exam first, make sure it works, then you can do it by all means. Okay? So we have to practice, we have to give clear instructions what to do. Right? If it's like watch the video first, take notes, then answer next 3 questions are belonging to this video. So if you give clear instructions, it's much better for the students to relieve them from the stress of exams. Now, feedback, already I told you, why feedback is important, right, to students. You can tell where you go wrong, and you can actually encourage them. In a paper exam, you can't. Electronic exam, as soon as you answer, well done, you got it right. Or, sorry, try again. Right? So in a low-stake exam, you can allow them to try again, say, move your answer, choose something else. In choose something else, if you got multiple choice, 4 choices or 5 choices, then there is 25% of getting it right. So you can't repeat it more than twice. Right? First time you get it wrong, maybe you have another go. But if you give them 4 chances, he will get it right. Right? So we can do something like that. Even if it's, we can use graphics to show, this is also very, very, very important point, that students frequently come saying, your questions are very hard. Your questions are very hard. So it's okay. As a group, 180 students took this exam. Let's have a look at the statistics. Alright? So statistics says in the blackboard, so many questions were easy. So you found it difficult, but the whole group found it easy. Immediately you give answer to the student. He knows that by graphics, I can see the graph, most of the students got A, but I got F. Okay, and I'm saying that the questions were hard. So what about the other students? Right? So feedback is there. You can use graphics. You can even explain why the question is right or wrong. And that helps them learn more. Right? and retain that information. So feedback. Here is our setup. Can you see this picture up there on this side? And this is the room where we allow them just for doing their homeworks. And the booths, which are with the barriers, this is where we do the exams. Last semester, one of our vice deans, okay, he said, well, I don't trust the electronic exams. I think they are cheating, right? So I said, okay, come to the exam and have a look for yourself. And we took them to this room here. And the first comment, he said, oh, they are sitting very close to each other. They are sitting next to each other and you are giving them an exam. Say, okay, after the exam, have a look at the analysis. You think they are looking at the screen and cheating? Yeah, maybe they can. But Blackboard allows me to randomize the question, randomize the choice, and give them question at a time. So even if you got next door and you have a look at the screen, maybe you find the same question, but it's the wrong order of the answers. And there are 4 people in the room, muraqibin, invigilators. And they are very strict. As soon as you look here, close it out. So they are scared from the invigilators. Also the computer and the Blackboard is giving them random questions, random choices, and one question at a time. So it's quite secure. Even if they sit together, you can find, and by my example, I can give you I've been doing exam for like 6-7 years, right? Always when you show the statistics to the administration, it's valid, right? Even though they were sitting next to each other. So this was a paper, I don't want to go into it, it just explains the same things, right? Now, have you got this file ready in your folder? There is a file. Do you all have folders? Folders in which there is some papers there? These folders that are with you. Most of the folders have got 2 copies, so you can pass around. We're looking for this. This is why I said, if you don't have it, if you provided your email, we are going to send this to you. Okay? And it's actually this idea last year was dreamt up by myself and Dr. Muhammad Tawheed. He is from the medical education department. It's actually he was the idea, but he encouraged me, saying, look, do something like that and we can make our teachers in the medical college all get into Blackboard. Because most of them, like here, I think, tell me if I'm assuming wrong, but in our college also, the staff, they think that Blackboard only for exams. We are happy with the paper exam, we don't need to use the Blackboard. Is it like that here? Don't be shy. Dr. Ahmed is here, listening to you. Medical people, they think Blackboard is not for them. Right? And they have this, even long time ago I had this. It's only to be used for electronic exam, that's all. No. Once we start to use it, say, no, there are many, many more functions and the reasons why we should be using Blackboard. So we devised 11 basic tasks that you have to do to become proficient in using Blackboard. And it starts from very basic. And each one you can go into it and start to use. See, with the electronic things, I'm sure you all agree with me. It's no good just somebody lecturing you and you listen and say, very good, thank you for coming, and then, no. Electronic things you have to try it yourself. Make mistakes, because by mistakes you will learn, right? You become good. By making mistakes, we learn. And we try, how do I do this then? Say for example, a simple task like sending an announcement. right? An announcement to your student that quiz is going to be at certain time, or the lecture room has been changed from this one to this one, right? Simple, very easy, right? But somebody will say, oh, well, I want to send the announcement only to these 5 students, not to the whole group. So how do I do that? Or somebody will ask you, saying, I want to make the announcement, but my course by the administration system, Qabul Tasjeel, administration and registration, they have divided them into 4 groups. Same course, same students, when they come to theory class, all of them are in front of me, right? But in the system, they are actually divided into shaba, right? You have shaba? Sections, right? Section 1, section 2, and then boys, girls, they are separate. All of them are together. So in Blackboard, you will find them differently. So question might arise. Some simple thing like, I want to send an announcement to 4 groups of the same course students. How do I do that? So all these things will come later. At least try to make the first announcement. If you don't make announcement at all, then you will not think about these problems that will come later. So what we said, we go through these 11 tasks. If everybody can do that, the rest will automatically follow. Okay? So we just picked up 11 tasks, and I'm sure the e-learning people here, the Blackboard people may say, oh, well, why did you choose 11? You could choose 20. You could choose 25. 11 are the basic ones that we found. We sat together and say, if people can do these 11 things, they can then take it by themselves and do. All right? So we want to go through this 11 tasks. Do you have in the medical college or in the pharmacy dentistry college, do you have a medical education department?
No.
Or just some staff are?
Staff is there.
For all of you, if you are in the health professions, this is now a break with an advertisement, Elan. Same? Before we go into this one, 7, 8, 9 April 2020. Saudi International Medical Education Conference is going to be held in Abu Dhabi, and you are all welcome. It will be all about, and you can start sending abstracts from now. SciMed2020.org.sa is the website. SciMed2020.org.sa. The medical education people, they think of these bright ideas. And then they tell you to do it. So they will say, okay, biochemistry, I think your result looked very inflated. Why so many people are getting A and B's? So the medical education department, or those who have medical education skills, they will say, I want to see the course. Show me the objectives, show me the assessments that you've done, and show me the item analysis. Okay? And they then make a picture saying, well, it's so easy because your questions are so easy. And the questions don't discriminate between the good and the bad student. So you need to do something about your assessment. So there is going to be a conference like that. And this was devised by, mainly it is the idea of Dr. Muhammad Tawheed, my colleague in the medical education, and myself. So he asked me, what do you think people need? Because we also have the same notion. People think Blackboard only for exams. They don't think about other things, especially contents and the tools that are there. Yes, tools that are there for people to use. So we divide this 11, and I hope, if you don't have it, please provide the emails, then we can send it to you. Introduction, you can read it later. It's about King Khalid University and how students use the learning management system. Our learning management system is connected with the admissions and registration. So in the beginning of the course, automatically, if you are the course coordinator in Blackboard, when you go there, you will find your course and you will find your students. So at least we don't have to worry about that. Who are my students? How can I add them to my course? We don't have to worry about that. I think same procedure here. If you open your Blackboard, do you see your course automatically?
Yes.
And you see your students, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the same situation like we have there in Aadhaar. We don't have to worry about this. Okay? And as somebody withdraws from the course, you will find next day is withdrawn from the Blackboard also. right? Or if somebody is still there but is not submitting anything, then you can query the student and say, look, why are you not going to Blackboard? So you might find that he is withdrawn from the course. Okay? So there are things that we don't have to do. We only need to remember our login information. In KKU we have our usernames and our password, and it is a single sign-on, SSO. Do you know about SSO? The same username password works for many things in KKU or in your university NBU. Yes? So same username password will open Blackboard, will open your self-service, will open your Ingest, email service, email account, many things like that. So we have like that. So we have also one of the tasks will be how to log in. You think that's very easy, isn't it? Yes?
Easy.
Yes?
Yes.
How many of you have logged in? I think all of you have logged in. Yes? But such a simple task, how many of you, can you put your hand up and say, I had problem logging in? Yes? I'm sure. So we need to try it. Only then you will know that my username doesn't work, or I think my email is not right, or something. So here we have a technical support team. They are available, inshallah, 24/7. If your username password not working, Mr. Ahmad is there. Ahmad, yes? He's there. He can tell you how to log in. Provided you sit in front of a computer and you actually try to log in. If you don't do that, he can't come and say, oh, you have not logged in for so long. Yeah, maybe your dean will ask you, saying, he gave me statistics and it seems that you entered 2 years ago. So why are you not using this? Okay? So log in and things like that. So this is about some introduction. Our chairman is Dr. Abdulaziz Al-Amri. It's medical education, so it's coming from him. We are the winners of some prizes in King Khalid University from the medical education, and recently they hold the dean's meeting, all deans, I think Dr. Ahmad was there? Yes. In King Khalid University was the e-learning dean's meeting where we had this photograph. So, what next? Task number 1. This is where I stop talking and you have to do it. If you have, are you going to distribute these iPads or what? Why did you bring them? You can try from your mobile phone. Try from your mobile phone. Can you log in? And if you have any question, then you can ask me. Something related to login. In Blackboard, this is where you find how to access the Blackboard. I don't know about you, but we have like this. lms.kku.edu.sa. That will get you to the KKU. If I minimize this. But then I will move.
NBU.
How do you access your Blackboard?
NBU Blackboard. NBU Blackboard.
NBU
LMS dot
Blackboard. NBU.
lms.nbu.edu.sa.
NB
LMS
LMS.
.nbu.edu.sa.
Same pattern as this one, yeah? Or, in our case, we also have the main university page, kku.edu.sa, and there is a button for Blackboard. So you can go through that one. Right. Any questions about login? Both from the side of your students and from the side of your professors, your educators. Is it easy to log in?
Yes, it's easy. We experienced 2 days later.
You did?
E-learning team come to here.
Okay, I have a question then. Suppose your password not working. Then what would you like to do? You want to reset your password?
Password, إقامة number.
Forget password?
Password, إقامة number. Password is إقامة.
So,
إقامة number password.
so let me tell you what happens in our university and you say maybe it is same with you or not. In our place, if you try to log in and say twice or 3 times, if you make mistake, then it says, did you forget your password? You click on it, he takes you to the university IT. University IT services, those who are handling the username passwords. Provided your